Aris stood before the ancient mirror, tightening the straps of his armor. He was ready. For years he had trained for this moment. Villagers whispered tales of the succubus overlord, a demon whose beauty was as deadly as her power. Aris was undeterred. He checked his sword, its blade gleaming under the flickering torchlight. Today, he thought, I will end her reign. His confidence was unshakable. Aris had fought and triumphed over many foes. He had faced dragons, trolls, and wraiths. None had matched his skill. His mentors had always praised his bravery and cunning. As he stepped out into the cold night, Aris felt a surge of determination. The forest was his next destination, where the demon had her lair. The path was treacherous, but Aris moved with purpose. Each step brought him closer to his goal. He could almost hear the cries of the villagers, their hopes resting on his shoulders. For them, he whispered. The forest grew darker, the air thick with foreboding. Yet, Aris remained steadfast. He was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The entrance to the lair loomed before him, an ominous cave mouth. Aris took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was heavy, filled with an unnatural warmth. He could sense her presence, a dark energy that sent shivers down his spine, but fear was not an option. He gripped his sword tighter and ventured deeper into the darkness. The cave was a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. As Aris moved forward, he felt a strange pull. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, guiding him. Then he saw her, the succubus overlord. Her beauty was beyond mortal comprehension. Long, flowing hair that shimmered like the night sky. Eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. She was mesmerizing. Her voice was soft, like a lullaby. "Welcome, brave hero," she said, her lips curling into a smile. Aris felt a strange warmth wash over him. He tried to shake it off, but her presence was intoxicating. "I see you've come to defeat me," she continued, stepping closer. Her movements were graceful, almost hypnotic. Aris raised his sword, but his resolve began to waver. "Such a brave, strong warrior," she murmured, her gaze locking with his. But so alone. Her words seemed to echo in his mind, pulling at his deepest fears and desires. Aris struggled to focus. He knew he had to resist her enchantment, but each word, each step seemed to weaken his will. He could feel his strength slipping away, replaced by a strange sense of longing. The succubus reached out, her fingers brushing against his cheek. Aris shuddered. Her touch was like fire and ice, burning and soothing at the same time. He felt a wave of dizziness. The cave seemed to spin around him. No, he thought, I must fight. But his body betrayed him, his grip on the sword loosening. The succubus's smile widened. She had him. Aris felt a strange sensation coursing through his body. It was as if time itself was unraveling around him. He looked down at his hands, watching in horror as they began to shrink. The armor that had once fit him perfectly now hung loosely from his frame. Panic surged through him. "What is happening to me?" he thought. The succubus's laughter filled the cave. "Poor, brave Aris," she said, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. "You thought you could defeat me? How naive!" She moved closer, her eyes never leaving his. Aris tried to speak, but his voice came out as a childish squeak. He was changing, regressing. His body was becoming younger by the second. His once strong limbs became frail and small. The world around him grew larger and more intimidating. Aris's mind raced. He was now no older than a teenager. "I have to escape," he thought, but his body was no longer his own. He felt a sharp pain in his chest as his heart pounded wildly. The succubus's enchantment was too powerful. "Don't fight it," she whispered, her voice soothing yet commanding. Aris could feel his consciousness slipping. He was now a child, barely able to stand. The succubus reached out and lifted him effortlessly. "You are mine now," she said, cradling him in her arms. Aris's vision blurred, the world fading into a haze of confusion and fear. Section 4. Maternal dominance of the succubus. The succubus held Aris close, her touch both comforting and terrifying. There, she cooed, rocking him gently. Aris, now a toddler, felt his mind battling to stay alert. He was aware, fully aware of what was happening. The succubus's chest seemed to grow larger, a disturbing contrast to his shrinking form. He was helpless. She carried him deeper into the cave, to a chamber filled with soft pillows and dim, glowing light. "You are my little one now," she said, her voice filled with a twisted form of affection. Aris tried to protest, but his words came out as unintelligible babble. The succubus smiled, a look of satisfaction on her face. "Shh, little one. Mama will take care of you." Aris was placed on a plush cushion, his tiny body sinking into the softness. The succubus began to undress him, removing the remnants of his armor. He felt a wave of humiliation wash over him, but he was powerless to stop her. She lifted him again, this time to her chest. Aris felt a strange mix of comfort and terror as she began to nurse him. "You will never grow up," she murmured, stroking his hair. "You will always be my little boy." Aris's mind screamed in defiance, but his body betrayed him. He felt a sense of drowsiness, a forced relaxation. The succubus's enchantment was complete. He was trapped, a prisoner in his own body, forever at the mercy of his new mother. Section 5. The hero's new fate. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Aris was now a permanent resident of the succubus's lair. He had become accustomed to his new life, though his mind never fully accepted it. The succubus treated him like a cherished child, bathing, dressing and changing him. Each act was a reminder of his helplessness. He was fed, clothed and cared for, but always with an underlying sense of dominance. The succubus reveled in her control over him. "You are my little prince," she would say, her voice filled with twisted affection. Aris could do nothing but endure. His body had stopped aging, forever locked in the form of a small child. His mind, however, remained painfully aware. The succubus's lair became his entire world. He no longer remembered the feel of his sword, the thrill of battle, or the freedom of the outside world. His days were filled with the routine of a child, playing with toys and being cared for by his mother. The succubus's enchantment ensured he could never escape. He was her plaything, her eternal child. The villagers had long forgotten him, assuming he had perished in his quest. Aris, once their brave hero, was now a mere memory. The succubus had won. She had taken everything from him, his strength, his freedom, his very identity, and in return she had given him a twisted form of care. He was trapped, forever, a child in the arms of a demon. Section 6. Acceptance and finality. As the years passed, Aris's mind began to accept his fate. The succubus's enchantment was unbreakable. He was her child, her possession. He no longer fought the routine of being bathed, dressed and cared for. It was his life now. The succubus's voice, once a source of terror, became a strange comfort. "You are my little boy," she would say, and he would nod, unable to do otherwise. The passage of time became meaningless. Aris no longer counted the days or months. He existed in a perpetual state of childlike dependency. The succubus's lair was his world, and she was his caretaker. His memories of being a hero, of fighting for the villagers, faded into a distant dream. He was now her little prince, forever needing his mama. The succubus, satisfied with her victory, continued her reign. She had broken the hero, transforming him into her eternal child. Aris, once a beacon of hope for the villagers, was now a symbol of her power. His acceptance of his fate was complete. He no longer dreamed of escape. He no longer fought the enchantment. He was hers in body and mind. And so the tale of Aris, the brave hero, came to an end. He lived on as a child, cared for by the very demon he had set out to defeat. The succubus's lair remained shrouded in darkness, a place of twisted love and eternal dominance. Aris's story became a warning to others, a reminder of the dangers of underestimating the power of a demon.